Where did your desire for supercars come from? Where did your desire for six-figure watches come from? Where did your desire for designer clothes come from? Most of us are stuck in a hamster wheel of desire and dissatisfaction with no way out. Why is this happening and what can we do about it? Where did this desire for these sports cars and these watches and all these things really come from? You weren't just born and thought, I really want a fluorescent orange car that goes pretty fast and is pretty uncomfortable and expensive and breaks down a lot. I also want a watch that looks like a piece of Lego that I can't tell the time with. And I want clothes that have a bunch of big words on the front that are kind of uncomfortable. Where do these desires actually come from? Are these things you actually want, or are these things that have kind of been implanted into your brain so that you think, oh, I need this in my life? I think a lot of this comes from social media. When we're consuming social media, when we're seeing other people's lives, it's like a bunch of flashy objects kind of dangling in front of you. It's like a set of car keys you're dangling in front of a cat. That's kind of like you. You're the cat, and social media is dangling these car keys. You're thinking, wow, that's a really interesting looking car. Maybe I want that. Or, that's a weird watch, but all the cool people are wearing that, so I guess I want that as well. Or, those shoes are, they're kind of ugly, but my favorite rapper is wearing them, so I guess I want those as well. And what happens is you end up having just a mountain of things that you want, but you probably will not have. I think that a lot of happiness comes from the difference between what you want and what you have. And if that is aligned perfectly, if you have what you want and you want what you have, you're going to be a pretty happy person. When we're on social media, when we're consuming the social media, we're creating a big gap between what we have and what we want. And we have to really think, we have to really ask ourselves, why do we want this thing? Why do we want that uncomfortable orange car? Why do we want that piece of Lego on our wrist? Why do we want those red shoes? Is it because people that we admire, people we look up to are wearing them, are using those products? Or is it because we truly want them? I think it's pretty damn important and underlooked to really question, why do I want this thing? Why do I want to have this in my life? Because if you have a desire, but you're not asking yourself that question, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, because desire, as Naval says, desire is a contract to be unhappy until you get what you want. So if you are creating a contract with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want, shouldn't you at least put some time into thinking, do I really want this? Now, you can use whatever framework you want to decide whether you want something or not. One that I am really often going towards is thinking and asking myself this question. If everyone had this, would I still want it? I think that is a pretty interesting question, because then you start to think, okay, so that Bugatti, if everyone had a Bugatti, would I really want an unreliable, uncomfortable car that goes really quickly, but I can't really drive it quickly and is quite hard to drive? Would I still really want that? Or would I still really want that Richard Mille watch that looks like a piece of Lego that I can't tell the time with? Would I actually truly want this if everyone had it? Because if the answer is no, then what you probably have is a status signaling good. You have a good that is telling other people, look how cool, look how amazing I am. And then you're just stuck in a race of trying to compete with other people on who looks the best, who looks the coolest. And is that really a competition that you want to get yourself into? Because there is no end to this. It doesn't stop. There's always a faster, there's always a more expensive car that you can get. There's always a bigger house. There's always a nicer watch. It never really stops. If you start competing on these status signaling games, you're in big trouble. But a lot of this happens from the consumption of social media. Constantly seeing where you currently are, looking at other people who maybe have things that you don't want and thinking, I guess I want that. I guess I want that ridiculous car. I guess I want that massive house. I guess I want that yacht. I guess I want these things. And what happens? That gap starts getting really big. What you want and what you have, that is big. And when that is big, that is an unhappy person. I think it's very important that we truly think about what do we want. Because if we're trying to create a distance, we're trying to create a gap between what we have and what we want, then it better be worthwhile. Now, does this mean that we can't set goals? We can't have objectives and things we want to accomplish? Of course not. Of course you want to have goals. Of course you want to set ambitious targets for yourself, but make sure those goals are worthwhile. Make sure those goals make sense. Because if your goal is to get a car that you're going to get and then a few years later you're going to think, well, I want a better one now, or just getting any of these items that if everyone had it, you wouldn't want it, you're probably going to end up being very unhappy. And if you've created that gap to get something that is only going to create another gap, then that is a perpetual cycle of being dissatisfied. I think there's two big things you have to do here. You have to really question the desire, think, do I actually want to create a contract with myself to be dissatisfied, to be unhappy until I get what I want? I think a great way to question that is to think, if everyone else had this, would I still want it? And I think the other big thing, the other massive thing that you can do is just get rid of the noise. Take a break from consuming all of this social media, all of this content that's creating and manufacturing desires for status signaling goods, for things that you maybe don't want, for the highlights of people's lives where you go, I really want that. I'm here. That's over there. I'm going to be very unhappy. I think when we can question the desire, when we can remove that constant reminder that there are things in the world that you don't currently have and you're probably not going to get them. I think if we can start to remove that constant reminder, I think if we can question what we truly desire, you might end up being a little bit more happy. Now, does that mean that I have to give up all my worldly possessions, that I have to sit in a cave, that I have to meditate all day and just relinquish all desires? No, I think you want desires. I think desires are a great thing, but choose your desires wisely. Choose goals that are going to be genuinely meaningful, that create the kind of character that you want to have, not just adding to that stack of possessions that you have that you don't really care about, or that you're only really using to prove to that person that thought you weren't going to make it back in high school that I did it, I made it, I'm that person, look at me, I'm amazing. Setting the goals is huge. Setting massive goals means that you're probably going to achieve massive things over the course of your life. I truly think that nearly any goal is achievable when given a long enough time horizon. So definitely set those goals, but question why you have that goal. Why do I have that desire? Why do I want that car? Why do I want that watch? Why do I want that thing? If you want to know how to remove social media and all online entertainment from your life so that you're not constantly bombarded with these false desires, with these shiny objects that put you in a position of dissatisfaction and disappointment, then you can join my community where I show you how to get rid of all of this stuff without requiring any willpower whatsoever. If you like the video, then that's what the like button's for. Subscribe to the channel. There's probably a video somewhere around here that you're going to be interested in, so I will see you in one of those.